Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to Friendship Parent University. I am Charmayne Carter, the Director of Parent Relations here at Friendship Public Charter School, and I am very excited about today's topic. This is a topic that, if you're a parent watching this, you've already gone through. If you have a child that is a tween or older, you probably already experienced it or about to experience it. We're talking about puberty today and the different life events that your scholar may be going through or may have already gone through. And so we have our wonderful parent leaders here. Malaika R Kennie, she did a presentation with us earlier on goal setting. And then we have our featured speaker for today, Maxine Robinson. So I'll let Maxine introduce herself first, and then Malaika, you can go ahead and do a recap of who you are too.
Go ahead, Malaika, because I'm going to be talking for a long time. So unless that's what we're talking about. So.
Hey, sounds good. Sounds good. Hello, everybody. I'm Malaika Kennie. I am what am I? I am a parent leader for all the schools now, I guess. I was at Collegiate. I was at Tech Prep. I was at Southeast. I am now have one left in the school system at Armstrong. I am a seasoned parent leader, we'll say that. And I'm just here excited to talk about some stuff that we all need to talk about these days, especially during COVID. And we are seeing our children a little bit more in the light than we would if we were in the school system.
So local. My name is Maxine Robinson, and I am a parent leader at Chamberlain Elementary. I have been the parent leader there for about 2-3 years, so it's been a little bit of a transition. But my career is I am a health educator. I teach reproductive health, and I also teach women how to breastfeed their newborns and how to care for their newborns. So prenatal care and also postpartum care as well. And I'm a mom of 4 boys who you may have heard. But yeah, so I don't know if you have a question you want to start with, or you want me to just kind of dive into this discussion. But
let's just dive in. Let's talk about,
So pretty much, I have school age boys. Their ages are 9, 7, 5, and 3. And I have been an health educator for about 15 years. And so during that time, I've written different curriculums for young girls going through puberty, and now I have all these boys and they're going through puberty. So it's made me revisit and become even more puzzled by puberty once again, which was one of the curriculum that I wrote in North Carolina. And so I noticed that now being a parent, that the emphasis is more so to empower the parents with the information that we have. And a lot of this information sometimes is stuff we kind of know, but we don't know. And to then have now an offspring going through those same experiences, how do we explain those things? How do we have those explanations? A mom going through her menstrual cycle in a home with 4 boys is challenging. How do you explain that? What do you say? And ironically, I have been practicing a pitch of how to explain this, because there's a scientific way to explain it. And that's the way you would explain menstruation in any mammal. But there is a way that you can explain it that is child friendly and developmentally friendly for the audience that you're looking to target. And so if you're explaining this to a 3-year-old, he may get it. 5-year-old, 7 kind of sort of. That 9-year-old, we're hoping that sticks, because we want him to be well-rounded citizen of the community. And so the way that we kind of go through it is, with girls and boys, girls are born with all the eggs that they'll ever have in their lifetime. That's how we are as mammals. As a female cow, as a female pig, they're all born with all their eggs they're going to have. And for a human, we are born with 2 ovaries that hold our eggs. And in those ovaries are 500,000 eggs. And one ovary is 250,000 eggs, and the other one is 250,000. They're microscopic little dots. And so since we're little girls, we're born with these eggs, we have them. As we start to mature and our pituitary gland, which is in the back of our head, starts to release hormones to mature our body into womanhood and able to reproduce, those ripen our ovaries to start releasing eggs. And so the body thinks that every time it releases an egg, just like this wonderful pollen we're experiencing, the pollen is out here to make more trees. It's not out here to get in your throat, even though it's in your throat. It's like, my eyes. The pollen is to make more trees. Same thing like the eggs. And so the eggs are released every month once a girl gets to maturation, to puberty. And she then at that point can reproduce. That could start for young girls between the ages of 8 and 12. Some girls can start at 17. It really depends on their activity level, but around 8 is a time that you may notice some changes going on in a female. Now I'm starting with the females and we'll go to the males. So we're gonna start with the females because it's got, we got a lot going on. So we, all that. So when she gets to that age, that's the time when she's able to reproduce. Now, what that means is that the body goes, okay, this month we're going to have a baby. It releases an egg. The egg goes down the fallopian tube, down into the uterus where babies grow. Babies don't grow in the stomach. They grow in the uterus or the womb. As mothers, we should know that, but still, it's like, let me get these words together too. So they grow in the womb. And so when they grow there, if there's no way for that egg to interact with the part that creates the baby, the body assumes like, okay, we're not having a baby this month. It's time to release the egg. And so that's what your cycle is. Your cycle is a buildup of your body anticipating that you're going to have a baby. The things we need in order to live, like the things that make us survive, are food, water, and oxygen. We carry all 3 of those things in our blood. And so in our blood is where we are able to nurture and to grow a baby. That's why your menstrual cycle is a blood flow. It is a blood flow because that is the only liquid of our body that gives nutrients and life except for breast milk. And we could talk about that too after that. So we release that blood flow. That blood flow is enough to just be about 2 tablespoons, which is really just 2 spoonsful of actual blood, but we are 70% water. So it's a lot of water. It's more water than it is blood itself. And so the volume may differ. Everybody sees different things. The first time we go through our cycle, it may not be this large blood flow that we see. That first time is like this machine getting going. And so that first time may not be a full on cramping, needing, pillows and needing, different heavy types of pads or things that help catch blood flow. But as the months go on, which is we get our menstrual cycle every single month, you will notice a pattern. You will notice when it will be coming. There is about 28 days between each cycle of your menstruation. And so if you're able to chart it or to put in an app, because these children are super smart now, you can put it in an app and you can actually calculate when those different days are going to come. Now, there's some excitement with this. As parents of young children that may be going, oh my gosh, I'm not ready for that. I don't know how to explain that. I don't know what that is. Whatever you just said, it's just like, But for some of the females that will be going through it, it is something that we all are going to have to go through. That's one. But 2, the excitement is I could be ready. I can get myself prepared. So I have young girls who go, oh, wow, I maybe I want to carry around a little purse and I'm going to put my padding in and maybe some wipes and I'll put some spray because I like to smell good in my gloss. I got to have that. But they're prepared. And then on the other hand, we have some girls who are like, what's happening? Who every month? It's like, oh, did this happen last month? Oh, okay, honey, this is going to happen often. And so as the parent, to be supportive of that, it's how do I be that person that's going to be like, if you need to talk to me, you come, whatever you want to talk about. I don't really understand what exactly the cycle is, but this is kind of the gist of what it goes. I was teaching a class for parents and they had girls that were about 11. Some were starting, some were not. And one of the moms was being very detailed about the specific hormones, which is good. I think that's a good thing. But I was just like, getting that specific with an 11-year-old may be a little too much right now, but those things are super important. And I like that you got more information about it because now because you're a woman, you're going to have to know.
Okay, let's pause there.
Yeah.
Because you just gave us a lot of information, right? So Malaika, having a daughter, you have a daughter now who's 18. What was your experience going through that process as a parent?
Um, I didn't have that knowledge of puberty. So it's interesting you say that, because when you're not taught that as a kid, it's hard for you to give that information to your own children as well. And one of the things that I had to do was read a lot. And it's so interesting to me because, as for me, and I can't speak for all women, I needed to know what, okay, my reproductive is what, and what are we doing how, especially if you don't know and you weren't taught that. So we kind of went to a library and did some reading and researches. So, and we had a couple people that, were in the church at the time who actually helped me educate myself to be able to educate her in that process. So I'm glad Maxine is out here really doing that for a lot of young ladies, because, and we might need to touch the parents as well, because sometimes we may think we know some stuff, but we really don't. And it's hard for us to educate someone else if we're not educated ourselves on what to look for, how to say it.
I will say that parents do need to be empowered, but you're more of an expert than you think you are. The fact that you have maintained a cycle for this long and you ain't having it, so like you maintain it, you just what you do.
Right.
Yeah, you're an expert.
Yes.
But what about the father? What about the father who
the expert? He is also an expert.
Mm-hmm.
He is an expert.
Because you have some that say they don't want to deal with it.
But unfortunately, they've had a relationship with another female and probably several other females in their life that they have to deal with it. As a female, when I have my boys take out their dog, who is also a female dog who gets on her cycle, it's something that we have to take care of, because this is the nature that we're in. This is how we reproduce as humans. So he is more of an expert than he knows. Like he got it. He know what to do.
Right. But how would you, or what would you suggest?
Right.
Having a conversation with
your daughter
if he's never had that conversation before, like maybe he has a 7-year-old and he knows that it's coming, and he's probably terrified of the fact that his young girl is growing into a future woman, right? And he's terrified to have this conversation. So what are some tips that you would give to that person who may be encountering that situation?
I think some tips that I would give to a father talking to a daughter is to allow her to express herself. So if it's something that may be difficult for her to discuss with him, then at that moment it's difficult for her to discuss with him. Prying and prodding and trying to get it out may not be very effective, because it is something that personal that women tend to relate to each other with. And so maybe even going to say, you can talk to your mom or your sister or someone that's a trusted female where we can get some factual information. The other thing is that he needs to kind of check what his relationship with this matter is in general. So, for example, if you grew up in an environment where you're in your household, people were chastised for talking about it. And he has fear talking about it because maybe a sister chased him with something, or that's something that needs to be checked. And as parents and as adults, we need to make sure that we check that as an adult. There's some parents who say, I never say the word erection. An erection is where your penis gets hard. All the blood flows to the penis, and we'll get to that, but it gets erect. And it starts to happen during puberty for boys. There's some parents who are saying, I'm not talking about it at all. We need to talk. You need to get some therapy. We need to talk about what's going on here. Why is that happening? And before we even address the needs of the child, we may need to revisit what's going on with the parent. Because this may bring up some different things, just like any other topic we talk about the human body, a whole bunch. I wasn't taught that as a child. We didn't talk about that. No one knew about it. We didn't even know what our genitals were called. We didn't even look at it. So we're not going to do it here. And it's like, did that work? Because you had a baby at 13. No, it didn't. So let's talk about that. That's called intergenerational communication. That's educating one generation to go ahead and affect the next generation. You may even have to do grandma too. Because grandma done she called it cookies in the cookie box with the, let's bring grandma. Let's all have everybody on the Zoom. We all can sit together and we can all talk through that. So, and then seeking out help. finding factual information, going to woman.gov, women's health, that definitely going to factual information, and going from there. Fathers who are interested anyway is just a phenomenal. I always am like, go ahead, Dad. I think that's amazing.
What about
That's
hygiene?
interesting. Go ahead.
We touched on the actual cycle, but what about hygiene, or what conversations would you recommend having about maintaining,
Hygiene.
hygiene?
And it's funny we discuss hygiene, because I go, well, what do you mean? Because again, if we look at it from a science point of it, we're animals. Animals have smells. We sweat, and our sweats have smells. There's no one on the planet that smells rosy every day, all day. That ain't happening. And so I think the discussion of hygiene is something that you discuss early on from childhood. How to be clean. What does clean look like? What's dirty look like? What's this look like? What's that look like? What's those smells are? Why is that? And so that explains a lot. Why does your urine look that way? Now we're having a whole different discussion. If we're really talking about hygiene, what is your diet like? Are you eating Takis every day with cool? That's not going to work, because now your urine is extremely yellow. Let's look at this. Everybody in the bathroom, let's take a look at this urine. And so that seems a bit much, but when you're talking about having positive hygiene and good hygiene, then you're going to be looking at the whole aspect of that. Now, if we're talking like, okay, maybe there's foul odors a young girl may be having because she's on her cycle and that pad has been on all day because she doesn't have time to get to the bathroom and safely change it, then we have to talk about menstruation hygiene. How do we make sure we keep ourselves clean? Who do we go to get something that's new? How often should we change this? Anytime you want. Where should there be safe? Are there good locks on the bathroom in your hallway? Can you safely? Because growing up in high school, I didn't have good locks on our bathroom. You had to roll up the toilet paper and stick it in the door. That was the lock on the bathroom. That's not safe. How you change a pad in that? How I'm supposed to be comfortable if somebody don't come kick the door in? So you have to discuss these different things to go, okay, how can we effectively change whatever this hygiene issue is? But are we sweating too much? Okay, we have a question about sweat. So are we going to go directly to deodorant? Is that what we're suggesting everybody's going to do? Or are we actually effectively bathing? Are we bathing well? Do we have hair? Why do we have hair? Why is there hair there? What do we do with it? Do we just leave it there? It smells. So you have to think about all these different aspects instead of directly going for it. Why do I say that? Because a lot of the times with either parents or with young people, I've had groups of parents and young people, they go directly and address the smell. Your underarms smell, you need deodorant, you smell really bad, and everything is on you, smells really bad. Well, why is that? Did you smell bad at that age? Well, yeah, my parents told me that all the time. So now we have a child that smells the same as their parental. So we're looking at like, how can we address this where we don't hurt feelings, but we're still teaching them something. So it's like, when you take your bath, make sure you get all these parts. And then, yeah, we're going to put a little bit of baking soda under your arms. We'll start there. We'll go there. We'll do a little bit of oils or something. Oh, we want to try deodorant. Okay, you're a man. All right, let's go ahead and try. Let's try that. And so we try different things, but we're empowering them instead of belittling them when we're talking about hygiene. Because when you say hygiene, it sounds negative. It's not like you're talking about a positive thing. You ain't walking around saying little teenagers smell great, because they smell like probably a group of lions would smell, I would think. Oh, how wonderful. They smell like a pride of, those girls, they just in it, they ready, their things are just so they ready. That's the prime. That's the most innocent that we can end up being before we're berated by, you smell like fish and you smell like this, and dang, it's gone. Now we're putting Vagisil on our bodies. Now we're putting things that are toxic that remove and strip natural moistures that the body creates because of things that we've been scarred by.
So it's just good to have conversations.
Yes.
As early
and
as
there's no fault. I don't ever want parents to be like, oh, that's me, I feel bad. We are all brought up in different ways, but that don't mean we can't change to talk with them. Hold on one moment. Thank you.
Malaika, would you like to add anything?
That's interesting. She says that because I had that same conversation with my youngest son. So, about you have to, wash. Because my first thing is, when you come home from school, you go straight to the shower, because you smell like outdoors. If you had an old school parent, they used to always tell you smell like outdoors. So that's an interesting concept, making sure that we're not belittling them, and making sure that they understand you wash because this is you have to stay clean, but these are the areas that you need to make sure that you take care of while you're there. So that's interesting.
All right, so we talked about girls enough.
So those are the girls. Let's talk about the boys.
Let's talk about boys.
Let's talk about boys. Boys go through changes as well during puberty, and their changes may start with their voices. You may start to see some definition within their bodies, their muscular definition. They start off more physical. The emotional is there, but I'm not quite sure if boys know how to like articulate what it is that they're exactly feeling. But I think that, using the right words that maybe even you would use when you're discussing hormonal or emotional changes in a girl with a boy too, because they feel the same thing. They're conscious about their hair. They're conscious about their appearance. They're conscious what things look like on them or how they may be perceived. And so we may tend to be a little bit more heavy with girls, like, you're beautiful, black is beautiful, hair, girl, black girl magic, black. Boys need that too, because they do feel some of those different changes when they do start going through puberty. So the emotional effect may not be as pronounced, but for example, let's say, you make chicken for dinner and your boy comes in and he's going through puberty and he's like, what? Chicken? I hate chicken. I never want to eat chicken again. It's like, wait a minute, you just had chicken last night. All right, so we're not eating chicken anymore. But you may see that like rash, aggressive change. Again, remember I likened a group of children to like a pride. That's exactly what this is. These are boys who are now feeling more testosterone, more adrenaline, more feelings. And so they may be testing out their waters, and their aggression is coming out too, and their voices is changing. And so they then start going through puberty that way. Physically, their penises, which are located in their reproductive area, their genitals, their penises have already have had erections. Erections are where the blood flows to the penis. But now, when they start going through puberty, they may have ejaculation. So they may actually have a release of fluids from the body, either when they're sleeping or at different times of the morning or the evening, or if they become aroused, they may actually have that. And that is the time when they're able to be fertile, they're able to reproduce, where we then can make another baby, but where now, this is the other connection to the egg that the female then already has in her body. During puberty, she releases it. During puberty for boys, they start to develop sperm. Sperm are the small microscopic cells that live within the testicles. Those are those two little, they call them balls, that hang at the bottom of the penis. And so in those testicles, sperm are made. Boys aren't born with sperm. So when they're younger, they don't have it. They have to make it. So when they start getting to puberty, this is a process that the body is now getting into. And so the body is now making this sperm, and it's making millions and millions of it at a time. And so when a male is able to actually have a full ejaculation, where this fluid, which is sperm and something called Cowper's fluid. Cowper's fluid is like a base liquid. It has all these different nutrients within it. Those things encompass the sperm, but when those things are released, within that small amount, which is again teaspoons, are about 600 million sperm. So 600 million sperm at one time, when it's released from a boy, when it's released from the body, has 600 million. When a girl goes through her menstrual cycle, she has one egg that comes out. Maybe two, if we talk about twins. Now, parents, if you're ready for twins, we could get into twins. So that's a whole nother discussion. We could get there. We can get there, but let's just assume it's just one egg. So one egg with 600 million sperm. The possibility and the probability are extremely, extremely high. So this is why when, let's say, pollen is being released by trees, it's very, very likely we're going to get some more trees. The reason that we're here as humans is to reproduce. The clothes are cute, the plants are cute, these things are nice, but our whole purpose is to reproduce. And so that being said, when that happens, the probability is very high that the outcome is going to be what the outcome is going to be. Very high, very high. So when we discuss this, then when we have that conversation, that tries to get the understanding of, now that we're going through this puberty change for the male and for the female, there's some different responsibilities that come with this. Yes, as the female, you're going to have to go and change a pad, and you're going to be responsible for taking care of your cycle and being, making sure you're prepared and having these different things. For the male, what you carry is also very valuable, very, very valuable. And that means that anything you could, for us as females, we can, in our lifetime, if we went from the time we released an egg, starting in our puberty, to when we go through menopause, women, we do stop bleeding at some point. We do stop our menstrual cycle, so we can only have babies in a period of time. We can probably have about 60 babies. For a man, it's endless until he dies. So from puberty until 99, 105, I don't know. But that means that there's value. There's value in that. And I think that teaching that value, we often teach that heavy to girls. Like, you're on your cycle, this is important, you're gonna have a baby. Yeah, but the boys, just as valuable. 600 million, that's a lot. Dang, it could be more. Wow. So that means that that's precious. That's precious. That's important. The other part is that we talked about hygiene with females, hygiene with males as well. I get excited because I have 4 boys who, I'm looking at heirs, and I love Bridgerton. Bridgerton, we could talk about that because she didn't know nothing. You saw that? See, she didn't know nothing. But with the boys, it's legacy, and it's also our families as well. So what this means is that in order to take care of those priceless areas that are creating these sperm, they have to be nice and cool. They need to be clean. They need to be, taken care of. That means that you also have to take care of your body hygienically as well. And so those smells are a little bit more intense with the boys. So, if you know, you know. And so it's still the same explanation of cleaning well, and maybe trying some deodorant or trying different things that may encourage smells, and washing clothes and different things. So same kind of thing. So hopefully that was enough for the boys. Any questions?
Malaika, you also have an older son. So how was your experience with your oldest child, and how is it different from what you're going through with your youngest child?
Most definitely different. Because I was a young single mother with my oldest, I didn't have that education on male reproductive systems other than how to make so it was very different. Again, I had to call on my brothers to help educate him and myself on certain levels when it came to puberty and a lot of different areas in his life. I can say it's a different now from my 10-year-old. So I have a 27-year-old. Yeah, I know. So, and I have a 10-year-old. So the 2 boys, the girl is in the middle. And now that I went through that process with the 2 older ones, it was easier for me to be able to educate the younger one. So I think by experience, by education level, and then being around positive, productive men who can share that light for us to helped a lot.
As a parent myself, I have a child who is 12 and I have a 3-year-old. They're both boys. And I remember being terrified because I knew that it was coming, and I was like, oh my goodness, like he's just gonna have to talk to his dad. I do not want to have this conversation. Like, I'm not ready. When my son was in kindergarten, there were little girls pulling him, trying to take him to the corner and kiss him and stuff like that. So I was like, you know what? I already know I'm gonna be choking up somebody. I'm not ready. I cannot even imagine how it is. And so now fast forward to today, and especially during this pandemic, my son like is wearing men's clothes, and his voice got deep, and his shape now is a little bit more manly. And I'm just like, Oh my goodness. Wow. The time that I have dreaded for so long is now here. So we've begun to have those conversations. And we actually, before COVID, we actually enrolled him in those health education classes that teaches you about good touch, bad touch, and about the anatomy and stuff like that. And I remember that there were so many questions from my friends who had children of similar ages. And they were like, are you sure you want to put him in this class? Do you think that it's too early? So I just wanted to get your perspective on that.
That
Is it too early?
is it too early?
Is it
No,
too early to have a child, if a school offered that, if there was a class that was for maybe a preteen, probably around like 8 or 9 or 10, would that be too early to have a discussion about anatomy and sex education?
I think that, and I've been in this field for a long time. I've been in the field before having children, before getting married, before being serious. I was young and not thinking of any of those things. And then I've also been in the field as an adult, as a mom now. And so that is important. Is it too young? You're now conscious of what they're watching, what they're doing, who they're with, what they're talking about. We're a little bit more conscious of those things. And I can't say that it's too early because it's something that we all will eventually have to deal with. And it's not something that we can not deal with. It's a biological aspect of our lives. And how can we make it a way where we can make it child appropriate? So we're making it, I'm not saying, we're making it appropriate for the child at that time, but then we're also able to give them education, but encourage them as it does go on. Because I do got more information for you, but you're not ready yet. You got to stay tuned and come back next week. They're like, okay, I'm gonna come back next week. And so it's not that it's too early. I think also if we did have that opportunity to enroll our children in a class like that, offer it to the parents first. Can we
Yes.
can we sit through the class? Matter of fact, the only way that we'll take your kid in this class is if you sit through this real fast Zoom, meeting where we're gonna give you everything. Since you know it all and you think it's too early, come. Let come and we can discuss this. And I think that that would be a great precursor because a lot of the times our fear is what keeps us having this discussion. Our fear in our interactions and our PTSD from past experiences. It's like, I'm never going to talk about this. Or I had a friend who would just tell us everything. I mean, she gave us the nitty gritty of it all. And it was like, oh, that sounds, why? And you're like, why is she talking about this? Why is she talking about this? Why are these things happening? Who is she talking to and where she's experiencing that? Well, that is where this came from. So I think that if we wanted to affect change, we got to affect the people that are the ones responsible for their care. And so that means that we should give them the information and empower them, not in a way like, I know you don't know this, so this is what it is. PowerPoint. You don't know this. This is this. This is this. This is it. They done did this already. They know what's up. Look, that part right here that be filled. Yeah, this is called your uterus, not the stomach. Babies don't go in there. Or what about? And it should be culturally appropriate as well. So we should be addressing the myths and the misconceptions in our communities. If it's predominantly African American, let's talk about the real things in our African American communities. Why is it that at the bus stop guys try to hit on little girls? We look different. The assumption is that African American females are promiscuous or even develop faster, and so they look more like a woman. Why is that? Well, our history here in this country, they bred us. And since they bred us, we had to have our cycles earlier and we had to develop faster. And so African American girls tend to be a little bit more ahead of the curve when it comes to puberty and changes within the body. So it's like, whoa, what is that? Look, I can make you feel really good about this discussion. I want us to feel good about it so that when we go into it, it's not a dread. It's like, oh, here comes my man. Here he comes. Here comes the discussion. Here's my man. All right, let's talk about females. Let's go. Oh, let's talk about it. What's going on? Because that's your legacy. Yeah, go ahead, Malaika. Yeah.
So how do you deal with, so I had we so that I know I hear it from a lot of parents too, and I actually had that incident too, not with the older son, because I don't think sex and the things that are on TV is heavy back then as it is now today. So how do you as a parent, or what do you recommend parents whose children come to you because they've seen something on TikTok or their friend said something to them that they ask questions about, as far as those type of things, like the young boys, like, what does that mean? Back when I was younger, parents didn't call it penises. They was like your, whatever word they came up with at the time. So
Right.
what do you recommend for parents who don't necessarily want to ask those questions, but they really want to know the answer?
They want to know the answer. So I think that anytime your child comes to ask you something about something, ask to see where they saw it. Where'd you say? What's the context? I don't know why you're at. Where are we at? You're asking me why. Why does the penis look like a stick? And I was like, well, where did you see that at? Let me see. How do you know? How do you know? Like, what is it? And so it's like, okay, not in a way that's an accusatory way, but it's inquisitive. I'm also inquisitive too. I never done this before. This is my first time going to have this discussion with this child, and so let's see where we're going to be at. So you're kind of getting where they're at, and then they're also like giving you information as well. I think if you get a question that either you don't know the answer to, you say honestly, I don't know. I don't know the answer. Let's find out together. Let's go to the library. Let's go on and show me the video. Who is the person? They post like this all the time. Maybe they got the answer. Oh, it don't look like I got the answer. You know what? This don't look right at all. You shouldn't even be watching them because they don't know what they're talking about. But then it's like, you start finding out. But finding out that information together is totally important because then you start to learn too. I think the other thing too is using the correct terminology. We need to use the right words for the right parts. We shouldn't be making up ding dong, tallywhacker. Ding dong is a cake. Like you don't want nobody calling that no piece of cake. Same thing with the girls. Cookies, treasure box, kitty. Those all sound like wonderful, sparkly things. No, no, no. And so if we use the correct terminology, then it becomes more comfortable within the home. Then it becomes more comfortable when they're in environments that you may be, questionable, where it's like, maybe they're a swim class and they're changing clothes. So we're now having this interaction with other people. You want them to use the correct terminology. Correct terminology also dissuades any kind of abuse. Anytime that a child may be in a questionable situation and they scream out, "Don't touch my penis," people go, "Oh my gosh, did I hear penis? Someone said penis." Now, if you hear, "Don't touch my honey bun," "Don't touch my ding dong," "Don't touch," what is that? What is that? That's cake. I don't know. What is he talking about? I mean, I would look because I'd be like, "Who is that? What's he talking about? Touch it? What? Don't touch it." But for other people, that's not really a word. That my treasure box, give me my cookies. Like, what are you talking about? So using the correct terminology is going to be something that's empowering. This is what it's really called. This is what it's called. This is the name of it. This is the action that it happens. And it also empowers the parent too. Because it's like, I taught them the correct thing. Well, your son said tinkle winkle. It's like, he don't even talk like that. That's not something that he would use. I'm sorry. And so in that situation, finding out the information, seek out help. Find those trusted adults. You have your brothers, you have, your husbands, you have your trusted adults, people who know information, nurses, it could be doctors. This may also be an opportunity where you may see that, the direction that you would like to teach your children about this topic, reproductive health, may be a direction that you didn't learn at all growing up. So it's kind of like, quiet, hush, hush, nobody talks about it, but you feel differently about it and you're willing to be more open. I think that if you wanted more information or you wanted to get more insight, please contact Charmayne or me. And I can help. And I've had sessions with groups of girls and groups of boys, maybe about 8 to 10, and we kind of just hash it out. And we look at different models and different photos. I mean, that's why I didn't come with a PowerPoint, because it should be a real conversation like this. And so when we need to pull out the pictures and stuff, you will get the picture. But
so how can we find you? How can we get in contact with you?
Yes, so my email is all one word, healtheducatormaxine@gmail.com. That's probably the best way to reach me. You can also reach through Charmayne. Any parent leader, if you are within the schools and you have your parent leader, you can reach out and say, we have you're looking for puberty information, I'll definitely share that with everyone. And then also womenshealth.gov. That's one of our, local online supports. And so it's something that is nationwide, and you can get information concerning women's health there. They also have different links for men's health as well. So.
Well, thank you so much, Maxine, for your wealth of knowledge. We could have gone on and on. We could have a whole series with just different angles from this topic alone. But we're within our time, so we do have to end this session. Please, thank you, Malaika, also for participating in this conversation. I called Malaika very last minute and asked her to join us just so she can have more interaction. So thank you. I do appreciate you. And thank you for watching. If you're watching the replay, I appreciate you. Please continue to check out our webinars on Tuesdays at 4 p.m. And be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel at Friendship Public Charter School, or like us on our social media pages. Please continue to share our information. And if you have any questions, contact us at wecare@friendshipschools.org. You can also call our hotline at 202-281-1777. Until next time, have a great evening and be sure to have those tough conversations and start them early. Have a good night.